talk about Queen Homeschool and their government course. So this is completely a Charlotte Mason based curriculum for government, and you will get vocabulary, living style story of presentation of the lesson. You will get research and digging deeper and taking that research and writing an essay each week and answering some critical thinking, thoughtful questions in here. And day 5, you will then eventually get to where you put things in a timeline. In here at the very beginning, it talks about how to use the course, very clear instructions. If you have more than one child doing this course, they will need their own book because this is consumable, and anything in the Discovering History series that they have one for every time frame of history. This is like notebooking or their notebook, and this is all you would need for everybody to be on the same page and do it. Or if you had kids who wanted to do different history time periods, you would just pick that out and take this. At the very bottom here, it talks about pictures or using picture study through their observing history through picture study, and their pictures that come with its own study guide about the actual artist and the picture, and that you will purchase separate, and that is an additional add-on. You don't need it to complete this course, but it does enrich the course, and it's actually a really good visual, especially for your visual learners. And then you do get some of that auditory and hands-on, because you can pass around the painting, you can look at it, kind of put a face or get a feel for that time period more. It highlights it more when you do use them. So in here you will get day 1 and vocabulary, and they would recommend, and so would I, using the Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary. You can use that online for free, or if you have your own copy, it's great. It's a great investment into your homeschool. And then from there, on day 2, you will get a story or a presentation of the lesson in a much more living way, not so dry, and it's definitely manageable and readable. They're usually about 2 to 4 pages, front and back, maybe, front and back of 1 page and then a half, so doable reading. And they take that in consideration, because if you're doing their science courses, they kind of alternate which day you're doing the story and the lesson versus the vocabulary and looking that up, so that you're not doing vocabulary for both science and history on the same day. They kind of alternate that. So here vocabulary starts on Monday, and then day 3 and 4 I would say are like kind of the meat of this curriculum, and that is because you will do some research. You will use other living books, the encyclopedia, the internet, and if you have younger kids, because these courses are usually for grades 4 through 12, this is a government course, so most people will use it in 11th or 12th grade, but this is where you dig out deeper. You dig the facts. It's almost like they become like a reporter. This is where that love for learning comes into play, and they will be just kind of guided with some questions and then looking stuff up. So initially this starts with your local government, and from your county, your town, and then it kind of spreads out regionally to then how the Constitution was created, why it was created, studying the Constitution, studying the amendments, and then you will also be doing further research on day 5. Sometimes they'll have like critical thinking questions, or like I said, you will have order of events to put in a timeline. Now, in the very back of the book, you will get a how to create a timeline in a binder, and we've always just photocopy we actually only photocopied it and then pasted into and documented it a little bit in our book of centuries. But you can use sheet protectors, create a timeline. It tells you exactly how to do it in one big binder, so you can keep it for all the time periods and histories and stuff that you use. And then the kids start to make relations when they learned about, let's say, something in the Middle Ages, or then they learned about, Martin Luther, or in this case, they've got George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and they might have already documented that while learning American history, and then they would put some of these events that are in here. And what I always love about the Discovery history series with Queen Homeschool is that they always have a timeline and the order of the events and how they happen. So you can see from in advance what's going to be covered, who's going to be covered, and the order in which they happen. So very chronological and helpful. And kind of makes it easier. And sometimes you'll see the overlap in your timeline or a book of centuries when those happen. They also have other recommended resources. So you will be reading, or you could read, you don't have to, but you could, the Articles of the Confederation and of course the Federalist Papers. So you do get also a kind of warning when they recommend a website that at the time of publishing, this is what they thought was good and pure, nothing like inappropriate on the website. So there's a way to enrich this in multiple ways through picture study, the additional reading, and then obviously the websites in here. And of course you can take that further with documentaries or movies of this time period, or something that has to deal with our government and the establishment of our government. And in this book, it does cover even stuff like Roe versus Wade and how that all went down, and give you some critical thinking about it, questions to like get the kids thinking. So I like that it does incorporate research, writing, and vocabulary, definition, a living story, both of like how it's presented in this book, and then with the additional reading that I think is very appropriate for the high school level without overwhelming a child. Because let's face it, when they get into 11th or 12th grade, you kind of don't want the fluff. They're either busy with a part-time job, busy with all the social events and stuff that's going on, and other coursework. And so to have simplicity and straightforwardness without it being like kill and drill and dry is refreshing, especially if they grew up in a Charlotte Mason way. They don't have to give that up when learning about our government. And so I absolutely love this course. For $40, you can get an entire year of studying about the government, or you can break this work into a semester. And the way that we would do that is that on day one, we wouldn't just do the vocabulary, we would also read for day two the story. Or what you can do is kind of combine days 4 and 5. So either answer the questions or put something in the timeline, but you're doing that digging deeper aspect of day 4. So as you can see, you're getting reading, you're getting essays, you're getting the whole writing, you're getting critical thinking and comprehension questions, and the way that it affects you in your life. In fact, the final report on here is that after studying the Constitution, it will say, write a final report on the Constitution. Explain the ways in which it affects you personally. Explain the amendment you think is most important, and describe any amendments you think should be changed, repealed, or added. So I love that it takes on life application. Why does this matter? I think for some people, they didn't see the importance of local government, let alone our federal government, until 2020, which was very revealing. And we saw how local states and the difference of who was leading it and running it, and how that all happened made a difference in our personal lives. And so, and everybody going back to where do our rights really do come from, and why is the Constitution, why are we a governing nation of for the people, by the people? So I love that it takes it further into that living space of how does this affect me, why does it matter? And they do that with Roe versus Wade in here, getting to know your local officials. Some people don't even know them, or how to vote, or the voting process, or the election process, and all of those things. So this is a wonderful course, and I highly recommend it because there's a lot of government courses out there, but this won't bog you down. This is kind of tugging straight at the heart, straight at the mind. It's black and white, no like extra fluff, and you can simply add to it and beef it up if you want all the more, or take it as is and be satisfied, and it's enough. And in the Charlotte Mason education, you know, though it might be simple, it is impactful, and it is not the only thing that they are researching, writing, and reading. So we also need to keep that in mind in a Charlotte Mason philosophy of education, that it is a whole person and a whole life that's being applied here. So even more so in the upper grades. So I do think that you can do this in anytime in high school. I do think that it would even be appropriate for an 8th or 9th grader, but traditionally people like doing it in 11th and 12th grade, and the Federalist Papers and the other books that are recommended in this would be very easy to incorporate that and let it be a manageable workload. Now for my son currently, he is working through this and the Discovering History series for American History, the second volume, the one that goes from I think it's like World War II to present day. So it kind of flows pretty good. So he's already got the foundation of how the Constitution came about and all of that. And then he's got American history, and then he's doing this, and it's not overwhelming. He's able to do both at the same time. So I think that if you would like to learn more or see more, please head over to Queen Homeschool, and they have samples on their website, and you can get a really good idea from their earlier lessons to a little bit later. And I think that you will enjoy this, especially if you enjoy a Charlotte Mason philosophy of education. And so that again, it's Queen Homeschool, the governing of our nation under the Discovery History series. And I pray that it's a blessing to you. It's been a blessing to us. We've done other curriculum as well for government, and it's been good and doable, and we got through it. It wasn't my kids' favorite, but they did enjoy it. Learning about it and stuff, but this right here kind of was just a way to bring it more to life and more applicable, and not so like we're jogging through it and getting through the Constitution. This was more like lively and more of the style that they were used to, because they did grow up in a living book method of education. Okay, so this is a closer look at the Sandy Queen Homeschool, the Governing of a Nation course, Charlotte Mason for high schoolers. And so if we flip through here at the beginning, I will show you. Here's your instruction and basic use of it. Here's week 1, lesson 1. You get all your vocabulary. Then you get the story that we were talking about, the local government it starts off with. And then here are the finding out more. And then you get more of the writing and digging deeper. And from there, it kind of progresses on to further research, because at the beginning, there is nothing to put in the timeline yet. And then from there, just to kind of show you where it progresses on, your state government in lesson 6. You get the vocabulary, again, the basic reading in a more living form. Then you get these questions here. And here you dig out more facts and questions and, you know, the Commonwealth and what is the difference. And then you copy. There are some copy parts of your state constitution below, some further research. These are very thought-provoking questions and get you really thinking and thinking critically. And then from there, I want to just kind of show you here on lesson 11, where we're going to be learning more about elections and how that works. And then lesson 14, digging out the facts. And here's a lesson, actually starts here, the establishment of the Union. It starts off here with the vocabulary, then goes into the reading. And after the reading, which is 1 day's worth of work, you'll get 2 thinking, finding out more, then digging deeper. And there's your outline here and where you would put them on your timeline. And everything is done in chronological order. Then here for lesson 17, these are the 2 houses. You get all about the Senate and learn and read about the Senate.
Then it kind of asks you who your senators are. Do you think there should be limited terms for members of Congress? Why or why not? Which is like an everyday issue now and would be a good conversation to have. And then the foreign affairs of the military powers of the president. And then again, vocabulary, the reading of it, and then war powers resolution. And you just digging out more and more critical thinking and questions, and which presidents have been impeached. These are just solid, good questions that are thoughtful and thought-provoking. This one, it'll show you that throughout the lessons too, there'll be time where you can discuss and go a little deeper in discussing these questions, the due process of the law. Then it kind of goes through more about the Supreme Court, certain cases, and then more amendments. So it's very thorough, and it kind of follows that same pattern all the way through until the last 36 lessons. And on the 36th lesson, you kind of read more, you have the finding out more, the digging deep, and then here is that last final report that I was telling you about, explaining which amendment do they think is important, and describe the amendment you think should be changed, repealed, or added. And then instructions on how to make a binder if you choose to put your timeline in that. You can also put it in Book of Centuries like we have, the chronological information, the extra reading, other sources that you can use to make this even fuller. And again, like I mentioned in the video, taking any field trips. And for $40, you have a whole year of living. So go ahead and check Queen Homeschool, the governing of our nation, if you want a different flair and are accustomed to the Charlotte Mason education, and continue that with learning about our government.
I pray that this has been a blessing to you. Go ahead and check over at queenhomeschool.com, and may the Lord's peace be with you. Until next time.